Oh my gosh, 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 oh my gosh! Sorry about that. I'll try to be more professional. Hello everybody, I'm KC, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About. Today, let's talk about the final episode of Gravity Falls, Weirdmageddon 3, Take Back the Falls. This is going to be a big one, because I'm not just reviewing an episode, or a final part of a multi-part story, or even a season finale. I'm reviewing the series finale. This episode has a lot to do in 45 minutes, and has to end the show properly. Can Gravity Falls end on a high note? Well, let's find out. After the group reunites with Stan and Fort callbacks, they rally everyone together to find a way to save Ford and Gravity Falls. Something Stan isn't very happy about, but we'll get to that later. Meanwhile, Ford is back to normal, but is being threatened by Bill to reverse the weirdest magnetism that's apparently causing the bubble. Wait, hold the phone. So, this thing has absolutely nothing to do with Mabel's deal? It's just caused by Gravity Falls' general weirdness? Oh. Okay. Also, first complaint about the episode? Bill's song was too short. But it does remind me of something. Anyway, despite there being so many callbacks and returning characters, the episode never really feels crowded. While most of the comedy goes to the returning characters in the first half, the main and supporting cast are given the most screen time, especially when they finally do take the fight to Bill in the most ridiculously kick-ass way possible. You know the rest of the episode was fantastic when almost no one talks about how absolutely awesome this battle was. It's a 12-year-old's fever dream brought to amazingly animated life. It's like a Transformers movie, only not terrible. This continuity mech has a T-Rex for a hand. That's kind of messed up in hindsight, but it's still cool. But as adrenaline-inducing as this battle is, it's also choreographed well. All of the major players, and even a good chunk of the minor players, get a chance to contribute to the battle in some form or another, with McGucket and Wendy being the standouts for me. The rock cover of the theme song is awesome, and the robot actually has some of the better CG I've seen in an animated TV show. But it's still not enough to stop Bill, who's been trying to get Ford to let him into his mind. Now I'll admit, when I saw the synopsis for this episode where they mentioned Bill's true motives, I was worried they were going to try and make Bill sympathetic. Instead, they went about as far the opposite direction as you can get. While we do learn that Bill brought destruction to his homeworld by releasing all the restrictions from it, it just paints him as more of a psychopath. Seriously, if you didn't think Bill was an insane sociopath before, you will now. From torturing Ford to turning into this well-designed abomination to destroy Dipper and Mabel, he is absolutely ruthless here, but no one is willing to give up on stopping him. Dipper and Mabel are filled with determination here as they rally everyone together and even take on Bill themselves. This is why the Weirdmageddon event as a whole really worked as a multi-part story. We had an entire previous episode to watch Mabel and Dipper struggle and then come together, and here we see how much stronger they are because of that experience. So since the entire episode before was dedicated to Dipper and Mabel, we can finally get to another set of twins. If you've seen my other Gravity Falls videos, you know that I've been waiting for Stan and Ford to interact. At all. They haven't even spoken to each other since the Stan Churian candidate, and have hardly even mentioned each other since. But hey, Stan finally talks about Ford when Dipper tells him he's been captured, and we need to address his attitude towards this. This was apparently a teaser clip before the episode aired, and a lot of people complained about Stan saying it serves Ford right for trying to stop Weirdmageddon on his own, and then sits around in the shack. But honestly, I don't blame him. I'm not saying Stan should just stay in the shack and not try to help stop the Oddpocalypse, but I'm not surprised at his attitude towards his brother. Stan has come running every time Ford is called, but the way he treated him after Stan rescued him from the portal was the final straw. Not to mention that itty-bitty thing about people willing to save Ford when no one was willing to help him when he made a certain big mistake. Stan doesn't see people rescuing the author to help save the world. He sees people blindly running after his brother despite the fact that he was the one who caused all of this. I'll admit that this is not the best time to have this attitude, but when someone pushes you, whether intentionally or not, when you finally had enough, you're gonna snap, regardless of what's going on around you. And after 40 years of being completely ignored by him, Stan has finally had it with Ford. Ford's problem is what it's always been. He's so concerned with Bill and how to stop him that he doesn't stop to explain the significance of a situation with Stan, or even to consider that Stan may be able to help, which is probably how I'd explain Ford's attitude towards Stan at the end of A Tale of Two Stans. At this point, he sees himself as the only one who can stop Bill, the only one who's capable of doing it, with the exception of the symbol circle, but it was something he came up with. He may act like he knows better than Stan, since in this situation he kinda does, but keep in mind that if he hadn't stopped Stan from destroying the journal, none of this would be happening. I've said it before, and I'll say it as many times as necessary. Both of them made mistakes and hurt the other greatly. And it's not so much the individual incidents anymore, but the overall attitudes that they've developed towards each other that caused them to break the circle. Oh yeah, the Cipher wheel isn't what saved the day. It was a red herring the whole time that gets destroyed by Bill because these two couldn't hold hands for 10 seconds. Instead, Bill creates some more nightmare fuel, chases after Dipper and Mabel, and leaves the stands to finally have a quiet, one-on-one moment. Now, a lot of people were expecting some kind of falling out between Stan and Ford, calling each other out for their past mistakes. But that doesn't really happen. In this scene in the cage, we realize that Stan and Ford don't have to call each other out because they've been beating themselves up about their mistakes for years. They don't exactly need help realizing them, they just need help getting past them. Their problem seems to boil down to ignorance, both of them being so wrapped up in their own issues that they weren't looking past the other's facade. But this scene makes them both vulnerable and makes them realize how much better Dipper and Mabel are because they work together. So now they come together under a common goal. Not just stopping Weirdmageddon, but saving the kids. Because of this, they come up with a plan that neither could have pulled off on their own. And while some people, including myself, figured out the twist of the stand switching places ahead of time, the way it's shot and animated actually conceals it pretty well, making it tough to find the different traits between the two. Like Not What He Seems in The Last Mabelcorn, the tension of the moment is so strong that it's tough for you to focus on finding the deception. I mean, Bill is threatening to directly kill Dipper or Mabel. I'd say that's a pretty good distraction for the audience. In any other hands, this final solution could have come off as anticlimactic, making the final conflict so one-on-one for such a world-shattering event. But the show pulls it off by making the conflict and its resolution incredibly personal. And some people have pointed out that even this has been subtly foreshadowed for a while now. Oh, this show's detail and subtlety never ceases to amaze me. It's actually remarkable to see how much these two were willing to sacrifice to end all of this. Obviously, Stan suffers the most for this victory, but keep in mind that Ford had to pull the trigger and do this to his brother. Even if it meant saving the world and ending a duel that's been going on for decades, that couldn't have been easy. But it shows how alike Stan and Ford truly are, more than we may have realized. Not just in their looks, but in their values. Their willingness to put everything before themselves to save the ones they love because that is what heroes do. Which is kind of a surprising word to describe Stan. The greedy, selfish guy who almost got the kids he was watching arrested at the beginning of the show turns out to be the hero of the story. But this change doesn't come out of nowhere. As we learn more about Stan, we learned why he was like that to begin with, and why taking care of Dipper and Mabel changed him so much. Or rather, reminded him of important things he had forgotten long ago. Speaking of forgotten, the scene after the end of Weirdmageddon, where the family finds Stan with his memories gone, may be one of the most heartbreaking, yet wonderfully executed moments in the history of the show. And at this point, that's saying a lot. I mean, that face, that tone, damn. There, Stan got his hug. Are you people happy now? Even if it's only for a few minutes, this sacrifice felt real. The animation on the facial expressions and the voice acting, both from a confused Stan and his sad and concerned family, is executed to perfection. You're right there with the characters feeling this loss and hoping there's a way to fix it. But this seems to hurt Ford more than anyone. As much as Ford felt he was the hero, in the end, Stan stood up and sacrificed himself to save everyone. Ford realizes how brave and capable his brother is, and there's no way to let him know, despite the fact that he's sitting right in front of him. Even with all the knowledge Ford has, there's nothing he can do for Stan here. He pretty much gives up and sadly accepts that his brother is gone, just when he realizes how important he truly is to him. Thankfully, Dipper and Mabel, and Waddles to an extent, find a very sentimental way to bring Stan's memories back. While I know some people wanted Stan's struggle to go on longer, or for him to just not get his memory back at all, I think this works a lot better. As much fun as it is to speculate on something like that, this ending wouldn't have been complete if Stan didn't get his memory back. In an interview with TV Insider, Alex Hirsch said that he wanted the characters to have a proper goodbye at the end of the summer, and realize how much they've grown and how much they're going to miss each other. We wouldn't have gotten that with any of the characters if Stan didn't properly remember any of them, and I don't think any of us didn't want a heartfelt goodbye for these three. Then Dipper and Mabel get their big birthday party, and Stan leaves Seuss to run the Mystery Shack while he and Ford rekindle the relationship while monster hunting on the high seas, and I am so happy about this. After Dipper and Mabel get to say a tearful goodbye to everyone, they head onto the bus home, and the credits roll. Overall, this is my new favorite show. Honestly, guys, I have never been this satisfied with a series finale. It ended the show's numerous conflicts wonderfully. The production value was top-notch, with the animators, composers, writers, and voice actors giving it their all for this final episode. It continued the show's trend of having a perfect blend of drama and comedy, and every character got a proper send-off. This was a show that started shrouded in mystery, and for some that could be a red flag, since it's easy to fail when you set up such an intriguing mystery, but everything the show has been building up to felt perfectly resolved. While I know there were some minor things left unsolved, personally, I can't even begin to call those nitpicks, because as far as the main and even supporting cast, no one is overlooked and everyone is given such a wonderful ending to their stories. It's a show that's filled with such deep intricacies, both in its wonderful storytelling and the complexities and overall journeys of its characters, that it's everything I could ask for in a TV show. So, sorry community, you're a great show, but move over, 'cause you've been dethroned. I have never been more satisfied with an overall experience with a show than I am with Gravity Falls, and I am so happy that I got to be a part of the experience of its original run. While Gravity Falls may be over, I can easily say that this won't be the last time I'll be talking about the show here, but it may be a while before we talk about it again. For now, if you'll excuse me, I have some other matters to attend to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.